Today's episode is brought to you by Bones Coffee Company. You can forget about boring coffee when you drink Bones Coffee. Not only do they offer a variety of flavors such as strawberry cheesecake and maple bacon, they are a family-owned company that puts great detail not only in their coffee, but in the artwork that comes on each individual bag. Bones Coffee has a coffee club that will deliver your favorite coffee to your door every month. If that wasn't enough, they also have some amazing swag to offer. Check out Bones Coffee Company today. I'll have my affiliate links in the show notes for you. Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Cold Cases in the News. I am your host, Sonova Cantrell. I have my lovely friend and research assistant, Tammy, on the line. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Well, thanks for jumping on last minute with me on this one. We got notified, my Google alerts went off. There is a cold case that may be close to being solved after 35 years in the Springfield, Missouri area. So neither one of us live in Springfield, but we live close, so it's kind of local. After 35 years. So I'll just read you the headline out of the Springfield News Leader. It says, after 35 years, 3 men are charged in relation to the 1989 Ozarks murder of Kelle Ann Workman. Now, I had actually heard of this case back when I was doing true crime the first time, but I was working on a couple other things and never did quite get to this case. But this one is pretty intense. She was 24 years old, and she was mowing the lawn at Dogwood Cemetery. She was last seen June 30th, 1989, mowing that cemetery. Now, she started mowing around 3:30, 5 o'clock. It started to rain, so she went home and fed animals. She lived with her parents on the farm. At 5:40, her uncle drove by the cemetery and seen her mowing. But 20 minutes later, somebody else drove by and they noticed the lawnmower was out there by itself in the middle of the place. It wasn't done, and she was nowhere to be found. So within somewhere after 5:40, she was taken, and she was missing for a week. A week later, they find her body face down in a creek about 10 miles south of there in Christian County in the Mark Twain National Forest. And so that's where we left everything off. And there wasn't a whole lot of leads for a long time. But now all of a sudden, this case is back in the news. What did you think of this case? I know you really hadn't studied it until I sent you some links earlier today. What do you think about it? Just kind of first thoughts.
I was kind of anxious to hear the details on it because it's kind of so close to home.
Yeah.
And I think have you been out to Dogwood? I think I've been out there. So I was kind of vaguely familiar with the area and the Mark Twain National Forest. So
yeah. Well, and
got my attention on it.
Yeah, it's a little scary when it's so close to the house. You know, it's easier to kind of throw that concept, or I don't know. It's just easier to build that wall between you and your emotions when it's out there somewhere. But you bring that out there real close to home, and it gets kind of scary. Now, I spent the afternoon researching the archives, the newspaper archives. And so I'm going to show you guys, for those of you that are watching that do not know anything about what we're talking about here, the Dogwood Cemetery. I have an actual picture, if I can get it to come up. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, there it is. So I'll let you guys see this. Do you see it?
Yep. We can see
this is a picture. This is a clip of the Springfield News Leader. It was a newspaper that was run October 4th, 21. So this is actually a newspaper clipping from the Springfield News Leader. It's just kind of gives you a picture of the Dogwood Cemetery there. So the thing with it is that I always found disturbing, it's not like a big gigantic place. It's not like one of those cemeteries you see in downtown Springfield where there's, scary, slummy looking things around it. It's just out in a nice, pleasant place with a pretty little white church next to it. And it just seems, it seems like a safe place. And I think that's kind of what what is kind of scary sometimes. We need to always pay attention to our surroundings, even if you think you're in a safe place. So that kind of gives you an idea of what we're talking about here. So let me fix my camera again so you can stare at me. Unfortunately, poor guys. Okay, so now I'm going to do another quick screen share here, and I'm going to let you guys see. I'm going to let you guys see what Kelle looks like. Now this is just another screenshot of, no, which one was it? I think it's this one. I've got so many tabs open. That's it. Got so many tabs open. My computer runs slow sometimes because I've got so many open. Okay, can you see her now?
I can see her.
They said that she's 6 foot tall and kind of strawberry blondish type hair, it looks like, and green eyes, and nice looking girl. Said that she was pretty shy and quiet, and it's never a good thing, but you when you see their face, it kind of brings it a little bit closer to home too. So thought I'd show you the picture. Okay, we're gonna stop the screen share now. We're gonna go back to this. Okay, so 3 men were charged with this kidnapping and murder. Now I'm going to tell you something that I'm going to go in and I'll give you guys the 3 men that were arrested. And I have a picture of them as well. There's 3 men arrested: Leonard Dwight Banks, Bobby Lee Banks, and Wiley Belt. I guess is how you'd say that. They were indicted by a grand jury for kidnap, rape, and murder. Now, the strange thing about this case was they found her body. It was very decomposed. She was gone for 7 days, but it was extremely decomposed, and it was 10 miles south in the Mark Twain National Forest. She was fully clothed, and they did an autopsy, and they couldn't determine the cause of death. Now, I noticed when we started reading this most recent report where it shows the 3 men that they have arrested, it said that Bobby Lee Banks is actually the one in charge that actually was supposedly the one that kidnapped and raped her, and the other 2, I suppose, were the ones that helped him kill her or dispose of the body. They don't give exact details, but it does tend to sound like Bobby was the one that was actually the main one in this whole case. He was the one that actually, it seems like, attacked her. And then his friends obviously helped him get rid of the evidence. But it said that they kidnapped her and raped her and killed her and left her in the Mark Twain National Forest. And it makes a big thing about them redressing her. And I know, Tammy, when I sent this to you, you asked me about that. You thought it was odd that they would redress her.
Yep.
And it is kind of odd. And so I was going through the newspaper archives, and I'm sitting here going, why would they redress her? And I found the answer again in the Springfield News Leader. It says that the autopsy was done, but it couldn't determine the cause of death because she was so badly decomposed. The only reason why I would say that was the case was she was found face down in a creek. And I don't know if the water and the wildlife and any kind of animals or what would cause her to decompose within 7 days so badly. They literally had to identify her by her dental records. So I'm assuming that was the concept of leaving her face down in the water. But then what was really disturbing, it says, the autopsy couldn't determine the cause of death. She was not shot and apparently not raped since she was fully clothed. And to me, that was one of the dumbest statements you could make in an investigation. Since she has her clothes on, she wasn't attacked. But to me, that tells me that's the reason why they wanted to throw this whole thing off. They say they have DNA evidence. Now, if you watch I'll put a link in the description of the video, there's a link where Douglas County Sheriff um, goes ahead and kind of gives some updates and things, but they're hesitant to tell what kind of DNA evidence that they have until the trial's over with. So I'm kind of thinking, I'm not thinking that it is, I don't necessarily think that it's from the rape, because that kind of DNA evidence actually deteriorates very quickly. It could be, but I'm thinking it's some other kind of DNA evidence, because usually that kind of evidence deteriorates within 72 hours. So it would be a real long shot to think that it was taken. And then if they didn't think she was raped, did they even do a rape test kit? So that could just be flat out a missed opportunity. I don't know, but they didn't say anything about it. And then they said, well, she's obviously not raped. So it makes me think that they didn't even do that. They didn't follow through. So it's got to be some other kind of DNA. I'll be watching the newspaper reports, because I have a feeling after the trial we'll find out what kind of DNA it was. But they do say they have some pretty substantial DNA evidence. And so I'm hoping that we get a clear answer on this. Let me show you the 3 guys that did this. I'll do one more screen share here.
Do you think they knew her?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think so.
I wonder if they've been watching her, if she mows there, if she mows there every week.
Well, that was the thing. People had been mowing, her family had been mowing that cemetery for 3 generations, and she liked to mow, and she liked to mow it. And so that tells me she had been mowing it for a long time. So I would say you had somebody kind of staking her out a bit. Or it did say they had some kind of eyewitness come forward and give a tip as the reason why they was finally able to push this through. But it said that he was wasted. He was out of his mind, wasted. So I don't know if that was drugs or alcohol. Usually wasted means alcohol. Not necessarily, but that's kind of the way that goes. Can you see these 3 guys? Did I hit the sharing?
Yes.
Okay. So these are the 3 guys. You've got Leonard Banks in the orange, Bobby Banks in the multicolored shirt, and Wiley Belt in the reddish shirt. And so, of course, this is 35 years later. So they are hoping to hurry this process up. They're trying to rush it through, because they don't want to make the family wait any longer. I found quite a few articles on it, but I didn't see. Did you see anything about if her parents are still here?
No, I don't recall.
I don't see anything about them being dead either. So
I wonder if
I'll
they would have interviewed anybody that you think they might have interviewed somebody in her family that would have comments on it, maybe in the news.
I don't know. I did notice that there was one. They did make sure and say that Bobby Lee Banks was actually in the suspect pool from the very beginning. And they did a polygraph on him in 1990. So within a year of this, they did a polygraph test, and he failed. But obviously something was still hindering. There wasn't enough information for them to follow through. And a failed polygraph test is inadmissible in court on its own. It's not evidence enough on its own merit. They have to find other evidence to go with it. So they can't just say, hey, he didn't do good on this polygraph test and arrest the guy. They have to have more. But this shows that they have had him on the radar since the beginning. So I'm thinking all of this combined will probably get a conclusion for this. But I'm kind of looking. I didn't see anything about her parents.
I didn't either.
And usually, if a cold case breaks and the parents are gone, they will say it in the newspaper. And I'm kind of looking around, but I don't.
You'd hope that they're still around so they could see Justin.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, 35 years is a long time to wait.
Yeah,
but I'm not seeing anything. I'll have to dig it out and see if I can figure something out about her parents, see if they're still here. I think though, if they were gone, most of the time, if they're gone, if the parents have already passed away, that they usually say that in the newspaper reports. So I'm assuming. But anyways, that's a cold case that's in the news this week, and I will keep you posted on what happens. Hopefully, we will get this pushed through, and we'll get some information, and the case will come to a conclusion. I will set a Google alert for Kelle Workman, and so hopefully we will find out anything that comes up. And I'll let you guys know. But that's just a quick rundown of a cold case in the news in our local area. And so I thought I would tell you guys about it and have my friend Tammy on because she's in the local area too. And Cricket couldn't be with us tonight, but Tammy kind of knows the different places that we're talking about. So anyways, thank you, Tammy, for coming on. I appreciate you recording this with me. Is there anything else you'd like to say about this case before we jump off?
Well, do you have a guess as how she might have been killed?
I would say if they didn't find anything in the autopsy, she was most likely strangled. And that's just my guess on my own. Because if she was stabbed of any depth, it would have broken bone. She said she wasn't shot. Either that, excuse me, or she could have been drowned in that
That's what I
creek.
was thinking too, possibly drowned.
But depending on how you're strangled, it doesn't always damage the bone. So, because you automatically think, well, they can see that in the bone, but that's not always the case. And so I would say either strangulation or she was drowned in that creek.
Yeah.
And then so that was my my concept. They haven't said, and they said they were unable to determine the cause of her death. So and of course, too, we say, well, that was kind of a stupid thing to say that she wasn't raped.
Yeah,
That could also be a poker face for the police, because they haven't got it closed yet, and they've got people on their radar. They've got suspects on their radar, and if they tell the local newspaper, yes, she was raped, yes, this is how she died, and they give all of the details, then the perps will get more scared. They might move out of the area or do something else to damage more evidence, and so it could be a poker face. It could be a bluff. They may have known she was raped from the beginning, but because see, that's one of the things. Law enforcement is not always 100% honest and open with the media. The media has to be held at arm's length until the case is solved, and it's not out of any kind of dishonesty. It's just a matter of they can't show when you're playing poker, you can't show your hand too soon or you'll lose the game, and the game that they're playing is very serious, and so they have to be careful what cards they show when. So it could be just the fact that they that's the story they fed the news. I'm hoping it is. I'm hoping that they didn't think she was fully dressed, so she obviously wasn't raped.
Well,
I really hope they didn't think that. Of course, you and I talked about before, though, back in 89, the mass population didn't have a lot of forensic knowledge. Nowadays, forensic files, and CSI and all of the, forensic science type crime shows, the basic person has more knowledge on crime scene investigation than anybody did in 1989. So I'm hoping that was just either a false flag type thing given by the law enforcement, or maybe it was a new writer. Maybe I don't know. I didn't look who wrote the article back then in the newspaper. Maybe that was just their conjecture. But it was obviously printed. She was fully dressed, so she was apparently not raped. And to me, that just sounds such a lack of intelligence there. Mm-hmm. I'm just like, no way, please tell me you don't actually think that. But like I said, it's 1989, 35 years ago. It was a whole different world, with those kinds of things. So All right. Well, I'm going to jump off. Thank you for signing on with me, and we'll talk to you later.